Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Civics. Today, we're going to talk about referendums, ballot initiatives, and recalls. Um, these are things that you might see during your time voting um, over the course of your many years that you are part of the political process. And these are all things that came out of the progressive era. So we're talking about the early 1900s to the late 1800s. Those two time periods are when a lot of these things were created. And the purpose was to give people more voice in government. And here's kind of how that works. So recalls are elections to um, take someone out of public office. I'm from Wisconsin. Our last recall election was to try to recall Governor Scott Walker. That recall failed, but it was an election basically in the middle of Scott Walker's term, um, trying to remove him from office and have someone else be governor. Recalls can happen on a number of different cases. It can be governors, it can be lieutenant governors. There's lots of different positions that can be recalled. So those are um, potential things that you might have to do as a voter. The other one is a state initiative or referendum. And basically, these are legislative initiatives or issues that the government could deal with policy that are given directly proposed to voters. So instead of the legislature just deciding that's what they're going to do, um, instead, these states allow voters to decide. Now, currently, there are 26 states that are allowed to have either an initiative or a referendum, and there are varying levels of that. Um, there are lots of different initiatives and referendum types. And so it differs based on which state you're in and how it works. But here are the states. I've got a list here of all the states that have some sort of initiative or referendum process. That's be Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Florida, Idaho, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, South Dakota, Utah, Washington, Wyoming, and the District of Columbia. So all of these states, in some way, have the ability to um, have some sort of referendum at the state level. So what does that mean necessarily? So I think the most popular case of this would be California. Every year there's an election in California. There is a list of ballot initiatives that voters get to vote on, anywhere from legalizing marijuana to what the state's school board should be doing. All sorts of things can be put on the initiatives. Um, Even up to, in some cases in California, tax code law, right? Lots of different things have been put up on their referendum system. Now, pros of this, people can directly vote on policy, which is good. It's a good thing that people have a direct say in what their government is doing for them, right? The cons of this, people have a direct say in what they want um, from their government. Sometimes this can be good, sometimes this can be bad, right? Um, California has some issues every once in a while because there are referendums that say, well, you can't tax us like this anymore, right? Well, that's a bummer because that's how the state gets revenue, that's how the state does its programs, that's how the state gets its stuff done, right? So that can be a problem. But then on the pro side, things that wouldn't necessarily get through the legislature can get passed by the people. So, for instance, laws about the legality of marijuana were originally passed through referendum in California. Now, these sorts of laws were things that wouldn't necessarily maybe get through a state legislature, but enough people wanted them that they can happen. They can happen that way. So these sorts of things um, are pretty powerful. They allow the people to get what they want without having to go through the representatives. Um, at the national level, this kind of thing doesn't happen, but that would be something that could potentially get around a stalled Congress, like what we have right now. Senator Mitch McConnell, right, is vetoing and basically well, he's not vetoing it. That's not the right word I should use. He's been blocking legislation about all sorts of different things that poll numbers are showing that a lot of Americans want COVID relief, marijuana legalization, justice for people who are incarcerated because of marijuana possession, um, all sorts of different things that people have shown a great interest in, but because of the makeup of our Congress, right, can't get passed. So national referendum has the possibility of legalizing things that um, could potentially kind of bypass that part, and it would make our system a little bit more democratic. Um, Now, is that going to happen? No. There has to be an amendment. There would have to be lots of different things that would happen before that could possibly be. But on the state level, though, it's important for these states because they are able to have a more direct voice in the policies affecting them. So those sorts of things um, are good. Um, for instance, the major one that's really been pushed through on referendum level recently has been marijuana legislation. Obviously, more and more states are legalizing to some degree marijuana, and a lot of those laws, a lot of those changes are happening through referendums. So that sort of thing has proven to be a vehicle to be passed through that sort of mechanism. Anyway, that's all I really have to say about referendums and recalls. In the next episode, we're going to be moving on to our two-party system and how that's developed and why we have a two-party system when so many other modern democracies don't. And then we'll start talking a little bit more about local and state government. Um, and then we'll be pretty close to the end of our civics course. Although there is a possibility we might start talking about more international law because why not? Keep it going. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.